glasses. But today is a beautiful day here where I live, and it's a beautiful spring day. And so I decided that I was going to read a little bit more. And is Elvis alive? Okay, so I think what I'm going to read is about some of the inconsistencies with the funeral, all right, and some of the other things surrounding Elvis's death. All right, so Gail Brewer-Giorgio asked, did Elvis stage his own death? That was the question in this chapter that I'm going to read. This Photo Screen's January 1980 issue featured the headline stories, did Elvis stage his own death? It is very possible that Elvis Presley is indeed alive, they quoted a prominent psychiatrist as telling them. We felt as if we had been struck by a lightning bolt when we had approached this doctor to find out if we were on the right path of the biggest story of the century or just completely out of our mind. We were leaning toward the latter. Listed are some of the facts presented by the doctor to support the theory that Elvis had hoaxed his death. All right. Why had Vernon refused to respond to Memphis city officials' request to buy Elvis's estate and preserve it as a park forevermore? Despite the fact, Vernon said he was anxious to have Elvis's memory enshrined in his adopted hometown. Why did Elvis' suit in the mansion have been preserved intact since his alleged suite? Excuse me, I can't read today. Why had Elvis's suite in the mansion been preserved intact since his alleged death? No one is allowed up there, even to clean. One former Presley pal has told reporters. Photo Screen questions why the suite was off limits under Vernon Presley's orders. What were they trying to hide? Imagine my surprise when this article began talking about the mystery singer by the name of Orion, Erkley Darnell, the full name of the fictional character I had created. Now, this is Gail Brewer-Giorgio. Her book, Orion, was written shortly after Elvis died. But the thing is about the book is that the character mirrors Elvis quite a bit, and fakes his death at the end of the book with the help of his manager. So they got wind of this, and somehow, some way, Sun Records used Gail Brewer-Giorgio's character in the book, really without her permission, and it was copywritten under her name, to formulate the Orion singer. All right. So her book kind of went to the wayside. Now my hair is blowing everywhere, so bear with me. I'm outside. It is a beautiful day out. It's a little windy though. Okay. I heard another version of the same story. A man from England who looked like Presley, but who was not a singer, was terminally ill with cancer. He contacted Elvis and told him about his illness, how poor he was, and that he had no family. He was brought to Graceland and sequestered upstairs, where his last days were lived in comfort. He received medical attention. That's why I believe those rumors about Elvis having cancer have a basis, said one fan. It was the other man who had cancer. The drugs were prescribed for him, not Elvis. And that's actually true. Elvis did do a body switch, and the guy that he body switched with had terminal illness, probably cancer. When they said that in the toxicology reports that he had all kinds of medications, like pain medications that cancer people would have, you would begin to wonder, well, was Elvis sick with cancer? You know, he never said anything to Wanda June Hill or Larry Geller or anybody close to him that he had cancer. All right. But he did have colon issues, and he did take colon medication, but all his medications and heart medications, like high blood pressure medicine, were all controlled. So suppose anything is possible if I find it hard to accept these theories. Still, in fact, is the questions are asked and rumors abound. Where there's smoke, is there fire? It's really not as peculiar as you think, the doctor continued in regards to Elvis going into hiding. You don't realize how many people disappear without a trace every day. Not from foul play either, but just because they have planned to escape their past. Sometimes they had a bad marriage or just a series of problems that overwhelm them emotionally to the point where they just have to leave. More than we care to talk about have never been found. Elvis may not have been so heartless. He apparently did tell his loved ones where he could be found. Otherwise, no one would be whispering about his staging his own death. The whispers have obviously grown louder. The disc jockey, who was the Keen Radio in San Jose, California, received a strange phone call in 1981 from a man identifying himself as Sivle, S-I-V-L-E. That is Elvis spelt backwards. And from what I gather from the copy of the interview, J. Albright had reason to believe the caller could be Elvis Presley. I have a tape of that interview, and I wonder about that voice. It's also worth mentioning that in the book Elvis in Private by Peter Haining, there is an interview with Chet Atkins, one of the most accomplished guitarists in the country. He says that Elvis used to book a recording studio under the name Sivle, S-I-V-L-E. There is also on display in the Elvis Presley Museum in Florida a bracelet of Elvis with name Sivle, S-I-V-L-E. Elvis in Private book was not released until 1987. Thus, an imitator might have known that Elvis used the backward spelling of his name, yet the caller to Mr. Albright knew it was 6 years prior to it becoming public knowledge. And, there are recordings out, 1981, from a Sivle Nora, which is actually Elvis Aron backwards. Trying to see your comments. I'm sorry, but I can't see. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Yes. Okay. So I see some comments here. I've read many sources. All right. So as far as I'm crazy, that's because Elvis says people think you're crazy when they don't know about things and they don't understand. But anyway, this is from a book here, Brewer-Giorgio. Okay, so we've been talking about Elvis being alive, staging his death, and there's more inconsistencies in the records and people's stories than there are consistencies. Dragonfly 17. Yes, the autopsy of the gentleman that switched and was autopsied as Elvis Presley had different DNA than Elvis, because when they did DNA for Jesse Elvis, they found out that Elvis's liver tissue did not match the liver tissue, or not the liver tissue, but the DNA of the body that was autopsied. Number one, because they took samples. You through blood and stuff, they could do that. When it came to Jesse Elvis's DNA, they found out it was tampered with somehow and didn't match either one of them. But they did DNA again about 4 years later, and he matched both of his cousins on both sides, of first cousins. So we know for sure that he's Elvis. No one else could match first cousins unless you're you. Okay. He couldn't do his father, and Lisa Marie won't cooperate with that, you know, back then. So, yes, I agree with that. They did not match. What else is here? I wanted to see. Yeah, and Elvis was seen in Michigan. You know, he has a property. I guess I heard that he owned a property in Kalamazoo, Michigan. He bought it before he died. I saw it on Google, and I kept a copy of the photograph of that. It was bought in 1970, like 5 or 6. So he was planning ahead of time. He had everything arranged. All right, and he told Billy Smith that if he did the body switch, he asked him where he was going to go, and he says, I'm going to hide someplace really good where they can't find me. He had many reasons. I have a video out of the reasons why he staged his death. And there's a lot of reasons, and one of them is his FBI work. And he had no choice but to stage it, or he would have died, and Lisa Marie probably would have gone to, because he had a threat against Lisa Marie as well as his life. So, all right. So I'm going to read the rest of whatever I'm going to read here, and then I'm going to get off. All right. So I was saying that Sivle, what I was saying is that there are recordings on YouTube from a Sivle Nora. And they are recordings of Elvis's old songs sung, and they sound just like Elvis, except they're rough recordings. So, like, you know, no dubbing or additional instruments. It's just him and a guitar. And they are rough recordings, but they definitely sound a lot like him. I'm not sure exactly how that goes with copyright, but there are pages, or there are channels. What I will do is, when I get edited, and it might take a day or two before I can get this live, to let me do like, you know, little things up top. I will actually put the channel, if you want, in the description, and you guys can click on that and listen to all the songs. It's kind of interesting. Very rough recordings though. Anyway. So I'm going to go back in here. Let's see, where was I? The bracelet. Okay, so let's see. One would expect this type of headline story in a rag magazine, and indeed there were many. However, the truth is, the legitimate media was also asking questions. One magazine actually ran a 1979 social strivers sweepstakes. They listed items like oddest couple going to John Travolta and Lily Thompson. Couples were tired of going to Steve Martin and Bernadette Peters. Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham. Best fake death, Elvis Presley. I guess this was like maybe a, I want to say, one of those, you know, surveys. Yeah, answers surveys. So during the time I visited with Mae Axton at her house in Henderson, and at another Nashville locations where Carol and met, I'm just going to skip over that part. Met many songwriters who both wrote and worked for Elvis, including Jerry Chestnut, who wrote Trouble and It's Midnight, Ray Pennington, who wrote Rambling Man, Tex Davis, who wrote Be Babalula, and John Fisher and Fishman Productions. Ray said to me, I think you're right. I think Elvis is alive. Nothing adds up. Ray also spoke of hearing something odd concerning the attitude of Felton Jarvis, Elvis' RCA record promoter. Felton loved Elvis, and Elvis was good to Felton. The day after Elvis's death, Felton was happy as a lark whistling, like nothing was wrong. That doesn't make sense. Another songwriter admitted to us that he went to the private viewing in Memphis. It wasn't Elvis, I can tell you. It looked like a wax dummy. The nose was all wrong. Everything was. I got up close and I can tell you, it wasn't Elvis. I went over to Vernon and I asked him what was going on. That ain't Elvis. Vernon nodded and admitted it wasn't. Then where is he? Upstairs, Vernon said. He had to show the fans something. So I think this is kind of weird. All right. I'm going to sidestep here for a minute. And I'm going to go into this book, The Truth About Elvis Aaron Presley in his own words. Now, what is strange about that account, and then what's strange about Elvis's point of view about his father, was quite interesting. He said that, let me see if I can find it now. Give me a second. He claims in his book that his father did not know anything about this plan. He was excluded from it. He did not know it and everything else. Now, I've had some conflicting reports because according to this book, he told me he's upstairs. He had to do something to show. So I'm kind of like confused. I'm scratching my head saying, okay, so why would Jesse Elvis tell us that his father didn't know anything about it? But Vernon seems to know, unless he meant upstairs as in up in heaven. I mean, it could be a possibility. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I'm going to try to find it here. It might be a minute, though, because I can't remember where I found it. I didn't mark it, so. And he said that he was using numerology and he was going to tell his father 3 years after the event happened, but his father died 6 months too soon. That's what he said in that book. I just don't know where it is right now to read it for you. So, we can just try to figure out, well, did he know or did he not know? Did he figure it out and just played along, thinking, oh, he was just going to let Elvis think that he didn't know? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments later. This is what I'm interested in, finding that out. So another gentleman said actually he ran into Elvis at Atlanta. I can't believe what I'm seeing, he said. He told Elvis, I don't believe it. He said Elvis adjusted his sunglasses and smiled sheepishly and said, man, you ain't seen me, okay? All right. To the Elvis TCB fan club in Chicago around 1981 or 82, a telephone call was received from a man who sounded like Elvis Presley. He thanked everyone and then repeated familiar lyrics which ended with, this too shall pass away. Just as one cannot see a face on album recordings, one cannot see a face over the telephone. All of these sightings, all of the telephone calls to the fans, the DJs, to the columnists, to me, all could indeed be an elaborate put-on. Much of this could be dismissed if not for other facts. We must also remember that the fans meant a lot to Elvis. In an interview Elvis did in 1962 on a movie set, he stresses the importance of fans. It would not be out of line for him to continue to call them or notify them of his presence. They, for most part, do not believe Elvis died, a belief continually reflected in their newsletters from the Elvis special. So, there are some other things that people have commented on and questioned about Elvis's death. So I'm going to read a few more and then I'm going to get off. Okay? All right. So I've received startling news from 4 different people in Louisiana and Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky, excuse me. A TV news program ran a story that a plane had been found registered to Elvis and apparently being lived in by an unknown person. The plane is large, with all the comforts of home. It even has a swimming pool area. People are asking if Elvis is living in it. Under the section, Elvis's death, comments, and questions, this is like a message board she's talking about. I don't know if this message board is still open. I want to tell you something about the name Sivle. We went to the EP Museum down here in Orlando, Florida, and I saw a name band on display case that was on Elvis's wrist. The name was Sivle. I was shocked. Kay Ferguson at the Presley-Lights. Many have said the body brought to Baptist Memorial Hospital was not Elvis. His contract with Colonel Parker was about to expire. Wasn't it a coincidence? This may sound like an off-wall statement if Elvis could pull it off, if he did it. I think one person who knew about it and maybe masterminded the whole thing was Colonel Tom Parker. And that's the truth. The Elvis special comments as to why Elvis would go to such trouble to hoax his death when he could have simply retired. Why would he? Why didn't he just retire? Why didn't he just go on and say, I am no longer able to record due to health reasons, or please, please let me live in peace and all that. Well, the problem is that I don't think he could. If we think about it. I think in the prior video that I had put out, the reasons why he staged his death, or the reasons why, was first of all, he was very sick with a colon condition and needed surgery. So that he probably could have done and retired. And he could have done that and retired. But the problem is that he was involved with the FBI and the DEA, and he was the mole for the mafia families. And there was a death threat out on Lisa Marie and on him, because Gene Smith revealed that to Deborah, Presley-Brando, that he was involved in bringing down those mafia families, and there was a hit on him, and someone actually beheaded Lisa Marie's teddy bear and left a note saying, this could be Lisa Marie. Wouldn't you be scared to death? Wouldn't you want to leave? Wouldn't you want to take away and run away and hide? I would. And it definitely wouldn't want to have a bag hanging from me, because he would have had to require some type of bag. Because, back in 77, they didn't have laser surgery like we do today, and they didn't have other advancements like they do today. And he was dealing with probably other types of addiction, maybe sleeping pills and pain pills. There's a possibility that he probably needed rehab. He said there was no rehab back then. I mean, it was like not really available. Like nowadays we have more of that available. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he could get away with retiring. I really don't. And I think his life and his family's life would have been in danger if he didn't do what he did. He said he hoped his fans would forgive him for what he did, because he had to do it. And that is the main thing. His fans were the most important thing to him, and that's what Gail Brewer-Giorgio said. And also Wanda June Hill had said that. She asked him what his greatest fear was. This was in We Remember Elvis, and he said, is losing favor with my fans. he said here in the beginning of his book, the true reasons for this book are for my fans. My death was not a hoax. To my fans, please forgive me. He had to do what he did. And the Colonel was a mastermind. Okay? And I probably will read some of this book some other day. Maybe. If everybody's open to that. This book is hard to get. I lost pages, so I had someone copy them for me on some of the pages. So that book is hard to get. So I've been just reading pieces out of it. So I think that's probably why he could not, you know, he could not retire and say, okay, I'm done. Because he was found it out. He would have died anyway. He said, I would have died one way or the other, from health reasons or from the mafia. Because if they knew he was alive, they would have killed him. And there was somebody inside Graceland as well, who was a mole, who kind of let somebody in to do that to Lisa Marie's teddy bear, and it freaked him out. That was in Deborah Brando, Presley-Brando's book. So, and that's a new book that just came out. So if you guys want to see that, I'll put a link down below, the name of the book, and you guys can look that up and read it. It's in the middle of the book. So the whole book isn't about Elvis Presley staging his death. She just finds out from Jean Smith about it. And she heard about it. And she is his daughter, just not recognized by marriage, and it was his first one ever, and it was before he became famous that she was born. So everything was kept in secret that whole time. It was for reputation purposes and everything. Back then in the 50s, it was not it didn't look very good if you had children out of wedlock for your reputation. All right? Or living with somebody. It didn't look good either. All right? So, there's some other questions like Elvis visited the dentist. And why wasn't there any Novocaine in his system? You know, they said if his heart was enlarged, how could it be that he could play racquetball in the wee hours of the morning on the 16th? Those were good questions to ask. You know, that was one of the questions I asked earlier. If he really died of a heart attack, then wouldn't he have had signs that he couldn't play racquetball? I mean, wouldn't he complain of heart pains and arm pains and, you know, chest pains? You know, he didn't feel good. I mean, those are like symptoms of a heart attack. And my husband went through a heart attack. I know. I had to call 911 to get him in the hospital right away. So, and he didn't say anything to Ginger about having heart pains or anything, you know, when he went to the bathroom. You know, you would think he would have cried out to her or something, you know, if he was having a heart attack. I mean, those types of things would be kind of questioned. I would really question that, you know, reasons why. So they said, what if Elvis had so little money in his savings account and over $1 million in his checking account and easy access, then where is the rest of his money? He took a lot of his money with him. A lot of his property, his assets were listed on the inventory, but some of them were missing. Books and jewelry, his mother's photographs, you know, those all went with him. And even Priscilla said, you know, the books that he had at his nightstand that he read every single day were missing off of that nightstand. And why were we personally asked by Vernon Presley, this was the Elvis Presley, not to come to Memphis for the funeral, but to come a week later? And why was the date on Elvis? Why was the date on Elvis's will crossed off and changed by hand? Why was the coffin 900 pounds? After talking to a mortician, a combining weight of Elvis's weight with the type of coffin was more than just 300 pounds. So where's the other pounds? How do they account for that? So there was a lot of stuff that was missing. And then why wasn't the life insurance cashed in? Those are good questions to ask. So I'm gonna check your oh, cool. You're very welcome. All right. Okay. I'm going to stop there, and I can pick up another day, and I'm going to title this, like, questions surrounding Elvis's death, and did Vernon really know about it? I'm going to say that Vernon probably didn't know about it, but figured it out. I don't think he was a stupid person. I mean, to say to that person, well, he's upstairs and we had to do something. I mean, that makes no sense. And Jesse says, well, he didn't know about it. So he swears he didn't know about it. So maybe Elvis didn't know that he knew about it. Maybe he figured it out. We don't know. There's conflicting stuff, you know, conflicting news. All right. So when I'm done here, I will in the comments put in, well, my references for 2 books here. And I will put down Linda Hood Sigmund's site. She has a wonderful website, Elvis Presley approved. It has DNA results and everything on it. I always link her site because she's got a lot of stuff on there. And it goes along with this book, you know, so that's why. She's in this book. She's Juma in the book. And I will find that channel for you for Sivle Nora. And I'll put that underneath. And then when I can edit this live, I will put some links up top and you guys can click on it and watch whatever you want. Alright, well, it's getting windy and I'm getting chilly, so I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great day. God bless you all. Bye.